The Exile. The Great Hall of the Galactic Coalition fell silent as the verdict was read. Captain Sarah Chen stood with her hands clasped behind her back, her military posture unchanged despite the energy restraints around her wrists. The tribunal of 5 species sat before her on their elevated platform, their alien forms casting strange shadows in the chamber's blue light. "The human known as Sarah Chen," announced Magistrate Forth, his crystalline voice echoing through translators. "You have been found guilty of aggressive diplomatic conduct, unauthorized military action, and violation of coalition peace protocols." The tall, insectoid being's compound eyes reflected the chamber's light as he continued. "Your actions during the Kepler Station incident endangered 3 species and violated 17 interstellar treaties." Sarah kept her face expressionless. The Kepler Station incident had saved over 10,000 lives when pirates attacked the civilian transport. Her aggressive diplomatic conduct had involved placing her ship between the attackers and the refugees, then negotiating with plasma cannons instead of words. The coalition called it a violation of their precious protocols. She called it being human. "Dr. Marcus Webb," the magistrate continued, turning to the bearded man beside Sarah, "you stand accused of conducting unauthorized research into coalition technology, attempting to reverse engineer classified systems, and spreading dangerous scientific theories among primitive species." Marcus straightened his shoulders, his gray hair catching the light. His crime had been questioning why human technology developed so differently from every other species in the galaxy. His research suggested that humans weren't as primitive as the coalition claimed. Elena Vasquez. The magistrate's attention shifted to the compact woman with oil-stained fingers. "You modified coalition safety systems without authorization, created hybrid technologies using human and alien components, and distributed these modifications to unauthorized personnel." Elena had committed the terrible crime of making coalition equipment actually work better. Her modifications had prevented 14 industrial accidents and saved hundreds of lives, but the coalition valued protocol over results. Thomas Morrison. The insectoid continued, addressing the massive man whose broad shoulders strained against his formal clothes. "You interfered with coalition authority, harbored illegal refugees, and used excessive force against coalition enforcement officers. Tank had protected human families when coalition officials tried to relocate them to appropriate habitats that were little better than prisons. His excessive force had involved standing in doorways and refusing to move." Dr. Amara Singh. The magistrate concluded, looking at the young woman whose dark eyes held no fear. "You conducted illegal biological research, studied classified alien specimens, and published papers questioning coalition understanding of evolutionary development." Amara's research had suggested that humans weren't just another primitive species, but something entirely different. Something that scared the coalition. The 5 humans stood together in the center of the hall, surrounded by hundreds of alien observers. They represented everything the coalition feared about humanity: the refusal to accept limitations, the drive to improve and adapt, and the dangerous tendency to ask questions that threaten the established order. "The tribunal has reached its decision," Magistrate Forth announced. "Execution would be the traditional punishment for your crimes. However, the coalition is merciful. You will be exiled to Xirion 7, a Class 0 death world in the Outer Rim. There you may live out your remaining days as your aggressive nature demands." A murmur ran through the alien observers. Xirion 7 was legendary among coalition worlds, a planet so hostile that 17 different species had attempted to establish research stations there. All had failed within weeks. The planet's surface temperatures could melt metal, its atmosphere contained acids that dissolved most known materials, and its gravitational anomalies could crush unprepared visitors. It was a death sentence disguised as mercy. Sarah stepped forward. "We accept the tribunal's judgment," she said clearly. The aliens in the hall shifted uncomfortably. They had expected pleading, perhaps tears or anger. Instead, the human's voice carried something that made them uneasy: anticipation. 3 days later, the 5 humans stood in the cargo bay of the coalition transport ship Harmony's Edge. Their belongings fit in 5 small containers, everything they were permitted to take to their exile. The ship's captain, a mollusk-like being named Slith, had avoided them during the journey. Like most coalition citizens, he believed humans were barely controlled savages who might explode into violence at any moment. Approaching Xirion 7, announced the ship's AI through the speakers. Atmospheric entry in 30 minutes. Please prepare for immediate departure. Through the small viewport, they could see their new home growing larger. Xirion 7 was a swirling mass of red and orange clouds, lightning flickering constantly through its atmosphere. The surface was barely visible through the storms, showing glimpses of twisted mountain ranges and vast crater-filled plains. Beautiful, Alina murmured, her engineer's eye seeing patterns in the chaos. Look at those electrical discharges. There's enough power in those storms to run a city. Marcus was taking readings with a small scanner he had hidden in his personal items. Gravity is 1.4 times Earth standard. Atmospheric composition is interesting. High oxygen content, sulfur compounds, and something I don't recognize. The surface temperature readings are all over the place, Tank observed, reading over Marcus's shoulder. From -40 to +160 degrees Celsius, sometimes within the same square kilometer. Amara pressed her face to the viewport. I can see movement down there. Large forms moving through those canyons. This world isn't dead, it's very much alive. The transport shuddered as it entered the atmosphere. Warning lights flashed throughout the cargo bay as the ship was buffeted by incredible winds. Captain Slith's voice came over the intercom, distorted by static. Landing in 5 minutes. Prepare for immediate departure. The ship will not remain on the surface. Sarah looked at her companions. Everyone ready? They nodded, each checking their equipment one final time. The Coalition had provided them with basic survival gear rated for Class 2 worlds, equipment that would probably fail within hours in Xirion 7's extreme conditions. They had not been expected to survive long enough to need better gear. The transport touched down with a bone-jarring impact. Through the viewport, they could see a landscape that looked like the surface of hell. Jagged rocks stretched to the horizon under a sky filled with roiling clouds. Lightning struck the ground every few seconds, leaving glowing craters in the redstone. Cargo bay opening, announced the AI. Atmospheric pressure equalized. You have 60 seconds before departure. The 5 humans grabbed their containers and rushed toward the opening ramp. The moment they stepped outside, the heat hit them like a physical blow. The air tasted of metal and sulfur, and each breath felt like inhaling fire. The gravity pulled at their bodies, making every step an effort. Behind them, the transport was already lifting off, its engines screaming as it fought to escape the planet's atmosphere. Within moments, it was gone, leaving them alone on the surface of a world that had killed everyone who had ever set foot on it. Well, Tank said, wiping sweat from his forehead, home sweet home. Seraph surveyed their surroundings. The immediate area was relatively flat, sheltered by a ring of twisted rock formations that provided some protection from the constant wind. We need shelter first, then water, she decided. Alina, what can you tell us about those formations? Alina was already examining the rocks with her engineer's eye. These aren't natural, she said after a moment. Look at the symmetry, the way they're positioned to create windbreaks. Someone built these. Marcus was taking atmospheric readings again. The air is breathable, he announced. High oxygen content, some sulfur compounds, but nothing immediately toxic. It's like breathing in a volcanic region on Earth. Speaking of Earth, Amara said quietly, kneeling beside what looked like a plant growing in the red soil. This isn't alien. The others gathered around her. The plant looked familiar, like something they might have seen in Earth's deserts, but adapted for harsher conditions. Its leaves were thick and waxy, designed to conserve water, and its roots extended deep into the rocky ground. That's not possible, Marcus breathed. This planet is 3,000 light-years from Earth. How could Earth plants be growing here? Before anyone could answer, the ground beneath their feet began to vibrate. A low humming sound filled the air, and the lightning strikes overhead suddenly formed a pattern, striking the same spots repeatedly. The rock formations around them began to glow with a soft blue light. "Everyone stay calm," Sarah ordered, but her hand moved instinctively to where her sidearm would have been if the coalition hadn't confiscated it. The humming grew louder, and the blue light spread from the rocks to the ground beneath their feet. Strange symbols appeared in the glowing stone, alien writing that somehow felt familiar. Alina knelt down and traced one of the symbols with her finger. The moment she touched it, the world exploded into light. When their vision cleared, they were no longer alone. Standing before them was a figure in strange armor, tall and imposing. The armor was clearly advanced technology, but its design was somehow familiar, human-like. The figure removed its helmet, revealing a face that made them all step backward in shock. It was human, but changed. The features were sharper, the eyes larger and adapted for different light. This was what a human might look like after thousands of years of evolution. "Welcome home," the figure said in accented but recognizable English. "We have been waiting for you for a very long time." Sarah found her voice first. "Who are you?" The figure smiled, and in that expression they could see something unmistakably human. "I am Commander Alexis Kane of the First Exodus. We are the humans who left Earth 50,000 years ago. This is not your exile. Sarah Chen of the Second Wave. This is your inheritance." The implications hit them like a physical blow. Humans had been in space longer than anyone knew. This death world wasn't a place of exile, it was a testing ground. And they had just passed the first test. The revelation. The chamber they were brought to defied every law of physics the Coalition had taught humanity. Carved from the living rock of Sirian 7, it stretched impossibly high, with walls that seemed to bend space itself. Soft light emanated from the stone without any visible source, and the air was cool and breathable despite the hellish conditions outside. Commander Kane led them through corridors, lined with symbols that hurt to look at directly, as if the human brain wasn't quite equipped to process their meaning. Alina ran her fingers along the walls, feeling the subtle vibrations of power flowing through them. "How long have you been here?" Sarah asked as they walked. "Time moves differently here," Kane replied. "By your calendar, approximately 50,000 years. By ours, perhaps half that. The planet exists in a temporal flux that slows aging and extends life. It was designed that way." They entered a vast hall where dozens of figures worked at stations that seemed to grow from the floor itself. All were human, but changed like Kane. Some had adapted to low light conditions with enlarged eyes and pale skin. Others showed the effects of high gravity with denser bone structure and powerful muscles. Yet others bore modifications that suggested they had adapted to environments that would kill baseline humans instantly. "We are the first Exodus," Kane explained, gesturing to the workers. "When Earth was young and humanity was scattered across the continents, some of us looked to the stars. We found the ruins of an ancient civilization, learned their secrets, and built ships to carry us beyond the solar system." Dr. Webb stepped forward, his scientific mind racing. "The Coalition claims they first contacted Earth 300 years ago. They say we were primitive when they found us." Kane's laugh was bitter. "The Coalition has been hiding from us for millennia. They know the truth about humanity's real history, but they fear what we represent. We are the children of the Builders, the species that created most of the technology the Coalition claims as their own." They reached a central chamber where a massive holographic display showed the galaxy. Thousands of points of light marked human settlements scattered across space, far more than Earth's official colonies. "This is impossible," Marcus breathed. "There are millions of human settlements here. The Coalition said Earth's population was only 8 billion. Earth's population is 8 billion, Kane confirmed. But Earth was never humanity's only home. We have been seeding the galaxy for 50,000 years, waiting for the right moment to reveal ourselves." Amara studied the display with growing excitement. The biological anomalies I found in my research. The genetic markers that didn't fit Earth's evolutionary timeline. They came from here. From many places, Kane corrected. Humans are the most adaptable species in the galaxy because we were designed to be. The builders weren't just our predecessors. They were us, humans from a timeline so far in the future that they transcended physical existence. They reached back through time to guide their own evolution. Elena was examining the technology around them with growing understanding. The modifications I made to coalition equipment. They worked because human technology is fundamentally different from theirs. We think in quantum states while they think in binary. Exactly, Kane smiled. Your exile here wasn't punishment. It was recruitment. The Coalition has been secretly testing humans for centuries, looking for individuals who display the traits we need. Military leadership, scientific curiosity, engineering innovation, protective instincts, and biological insight. The 5 of you represent everything humanity needs to reclaim its place in the galaxy. Tank crossed his arms. So what happens now? We found your secret base, learned about ancient humans, and discovered we're all part of some cosmic plan. What's the next step? Kane's expression grew serious. The next step is war. The word hung in the air like a physical presence. The humans from Earth looked at each other, understanding the implications. The Coalition isn't just hiding our history, Kane continued. They're actively suppressing it. Every time humans develop technology that approaches our true potential, they intervene. Every time human colonies grow too large or too independent, they find reasons to relocate or reduce them. They've been conducting a slow genocide for 3 centuries. Sarah felt her military instincts engaging. What are their numbers? Military strength. Technological advantages. They have size and established infrastructure, Kane admitted. Thousands of worlds, billions of citizens, and fleets that have maintained galactic peace for millennia. But they have critical weaknesses. The holographic display change, showing Coalition fleet movements and defensive positions. They've grown complacent. Their technology hasn't advanced in over 1,000 years because they suppress innovation. Their species have specialized so much that they've lost adaptability. Most importantly, they've never faced an enemy that thinks like humans do. Marcus studied the tactical display. You're talking about overthrowing the entire galactic government. We're talking about freeing humanity from artificial limitations, Kane corrected. The Coalition maintains power by convincing species that they need central authority to survive. But humans proved millions of years ago that intelligence, adaptability, and cooperation are more powerful than any government. Elena was already making connections. The modifications I created. They weren't violations of Coalition safety protocols. They were improvements that threatened their technological monopoly. Every crime you committed, Kane explained, was actually you expressing humanity's true nature. Sarah's aggressive diplomacy saved lives, because humans understand that sometimes violence prevents greater violence. Marcus's research threatened their version of history because he was discovering the truth. Elena's modifications worked better because human engineering principles are superior. Tank's protection of refugees showed humanity's instinct to defend the vulnerable. Amara's biological research revealed that humans aren't just another species. We're something entirely different. The implications were staggering. Earth's entire relationship with the galaxy was based on lies. Humanity hadn't been uplifted by benevolent aliens. They had been contained by fearful ones. Show them the armory, Kane ordered one of his subordinates. They were led to another chamber, this one filled with technology that made Coalition equipment look like stone tools. Weapons that could unmake matter at the molecular level. Ships that could fold space like paper. Armor that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. This is our real inheritance, Kane explained. Technology developed by humans over 50,000 years of exploration and innovation. We've been preparing for this moment since the Coalition first made contact with Earth. Sarah examined a weapon that felt perfectly balanced in her hands despite being made from materials she couldn't identify. How many of us are there? On Sirian 7. About 10,000. Throughout the galaxy. Over 50 million humans living in hidden colonies, all waiting for the signal to reveal themselves. Tank whistled softly. That's still outnumbered by about 1,000,000 to 1. Numbers aren't everything. Kane smiled. The Coalition has millions of soldiers who follow orders and fight according to established protocols. We have humans who adapt, innovate, and refuse to accept limitations. Dr. Singh was studying a biological scanner that seemed to read genetic information at the quantum level. What about Earth? 8 billion people who don't know any of this. Earth will be the key, Kane explained. When the Coalition realizes what's happening, they'll try to use Earth's population as leverage. But Earth isn't as defenseless as they believe. We've been preparing them to. The display changed again, showing Earth surrounded by what looked like empty space. But as the view adjusted, the concealed defenses became visible. Orbital platforms disguised as asteroids. Defense satellites hidden in planetary rings. Weapon systems built into the moon itself. Earth has been a fortress for 300 years, Kane revealed. We let the Coalition believe they were monitoring a primitive world while we built the most advanced defensive network in the galaxy around it. Elena stared at the display in amazement. How did you hide all this? The same way we hid 50,000 years of human expansion, Kane replied. We think in ways the Coalition can't understand. They look for technology that matches their parameters. They can't see ours because it operates on principles they've never discovered. Sarah was beginning to understand the full scope of what they were being offered. You want us to return to Coalition space and begin the revolution. We want you to go home and be yourselves, Kane corrected. The Coalition exiled you because you couldn't be contained. Now we're sending you back to show humanity what they really are. The 5 Earth humans looked at each other, a silent conversation passing between them. They had come to Sirian 7 as exiles, expecting to die on a hostile world. Instead, they had discovered that they were part of something vast and ancient, a plan that stretched across millennia. What about the Coalition leaders? Marcus asked. They must know at least part of the truth. The inner circle knows, Kane confirmed. But they've convinced themselves that suppressing humanity is necessary for galactic peace. They believe that human nature is too dangerous to be unleashed. They're about to learn how right they are. As if summoned by his words, alarms began sounding throughout the facility. Kane's expression hardened as he received a mental communication through technology none of the Earth humans understood. What is it? Sarah demanded. Coalition forces, Kane replied grimly. A full battle fleet just dropped out of hyperspace. They've discovered Sirian 7's true nature. Through the facility's sensors, they could see the ships approaching. Hundreds of Coalition vessels, representing dozens of species. Enough firepower to crack a planet. I thought you said this place was hidden, Hank said, checking the weapons he had been given. It was, Kane replied. But your exile here was monitored. When you survived longer than expected, they sent scouts. Now they know. Elena was already at a control station, her engineering instincts taking over. How long until they reached the surface? 6 hours, came the reply. They're being cautious, scanning for defenses. Sarah felt the familiar calm of impending combat settle over her. Then we have 6 hours to show them why they were right to fear humanity. Kane smiled, and for the first time, it wasn't a sad expression. It was the smile of a predator who had been waiting 50,000 years for this moment. Welcome to the revolution, he said. Let's remind the galaxy what humans are capable of. Above them, the Coalition fleet continued its approach, confident in their superior numbers and firepower. They had no idea they were descending toward a world that had been preparing for this battle longer than their civilizations had existed. The forgotten colony was about to make itself known, and the galaxy would never be the same.